Let it eat, brother.
What's up? We're on. All right. We're here doing the, I guess, sharpen the point is probably where I should start. But I was going to start by introducing that we were on at the same time as this UNC TCU game because I'm peeking over my shoulder at it right now. But what's up? Brian and Chris here recapping week one as it, I guess, slowly crawls towards a finish here with anything and everything Jordan Hudson.
Yeah, Randy Moss. Randy Moss is hanging out with her. He's made sure he's giving her some street cred.
It's a popular booth I saw. It's got everybody and anybody who is anybody up there.
Yeah, my favorite one in combo in a booth was definitely Michael Jordan and Lawrence Taylor in the same booth. That's maybe my favorite combination. Like, I would love to be a fly on the wall here in that conversation.
Oh, Jesus. Well, at the risk of hanging out, I mean, we'll probably randomly just say assorted things if things actually happen in this game because, I mean, we're watching football. I'm sure you are too. So if you're hanging out and something happens, you want to chat about it, that's cool. Throw it in there. Let's talk about what's happening live. But I feel like the easiest thing here, it says it at the bottom, right? Week 1 recap, week 2 preview. There was a lot of big games, a lot of big takeaways. I give you the floor because I know I'm sure your first takeaway may be DFS somehow related, but I feel like I gotta make you start with Notre Dame given the way you ended our first show together.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, my main takeaway is how the hell do you have a Heisman candidate at running back and you give him 10 carries and he had 4 going into the midway through the third quarter? What was that game plan coming out just chucking it with CJ Carr? I don't quite understand that. Carson Beck, I don't think looked that great. The wide receivers didn't look that great. I mean, Malachi Toney made a good catch, he probably looked the best of the bunch. CJ Daniels was who we thought he was, a short area target. He made one very nice catch.
That was crazy.
But that was a poor defensive breakdown. Like it's not like he was running wide open or anything.
Well, they probably should have killed him. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I was so frustrated with that game. I could not be more frustrated with that game. They should have won it. It was just a masterclass of pitifulness on the Notre Dame side of the ball. So I'm, like we always say, you're the betting guy. I'm the fantasy guy. So I don't do spreads. That's not my thing.
Yeah. I texted you as the week went along that I had a handful of feelings that felt strong. Miami was one of them. My other one was, and I said it Saturday morning, and my friends that are with me in Clemson, which I'll get to in a bit, said I was insane. But I really felt like Florida State was going to win, and they sure as hell did soundly. Kalen DeBoer with more losses to unranked opponents in his first 14 games than Saban had in 14 years, which is pretty amazing.
He's 4-4. He's 500 as a 14+ favorite at Alabama.
I the other one was it took Brian Harsin like 26 games to lose 4 times unranked teams at Auburn. Kalen DeBoer's pulled it off in 14. I don't want to make it seem like it's all over there, but it sure as hell feels like it.
One thing that continued, I'm going to go Alabama first. One thing that was a continuance for them, Jeremy Bernard continues to outperform Ryan Williams. Now, I believe that was my hottest of hot takes towards the end of last year, was that Bernard continuously outperformed Ryan Williams for the second half of that season. He had 8 for 146 in this game. Ryan Williams got knocked out, but even still, he wasn't really making any sort of impact. He's not 17 anymore, so we can't use that narrative. So I don't know what Ty Simpson is just abysmal. They don't have a starting quarterback right now until they decide that Russell is ready to go. But we have to shout out our friends at Tomahawk Nation. We have to shout them out. They're going to get a ton of clicks now, a ton of paid views. Tommy Castellanos lived up to the promise that he would win this game.
I mean, he wrote the check and cashed it. That's what he did all offseason and made it clear this was going to happen. And I think the things that I that stuck out to me going into it was obviously I thought Bama was there for the taking. Obviously, it's not the same Alabama that Gus Malzahn is used to beating. but man, there's something about when some coaches see certain uniforms, it just works. And God, if that wasn't just everything that Gus Malzahn looks like when it works, I'm sure every UCF fan who may be here or Auburn fans towards the end are like, yeah, but it doesn't work all the time. And I am very well aware because I've seen it too. It doesn't always work, but when it does, that's exactly what it looks like. Just chunk yards on the ground left and right, and that wheel route that they hit to Lucas up the sideline, that's just a staple of the Gus Malzahn playbook. It was just everything you'd expect when Malzahn plays Bama, except this time Saban wasn't there to like make it a dogfight.
Yeah, and we know that the weather played fully into the game plan of what Florida State wants to do on offense. But I will say, we know the Gus bus is going to derail more than once throughout this season. It could be Miami, it could be Pittsburgh, it could be Clemson, Virginia Tech, NC State, Florida, Virginia. Like that offense will come off the rails at the most inopportune time, and they will get 7 points, maybe. We've seen it year in and year out with Malzahn. That's the biggest gripe anybody has with a Malzahn offense, is that it will just randomly not show up for a random week.
It's almost like when it's not working, the idea is I'm just going to do it harder, right?
Yeah.
Like, stop dating my mom. I'm going to date your mom even harder. Like that. It's not working, but we're just going to try it as hard as we can to make it happen. And that's
how it goes. That's the
Gus
Malzahn
way.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're Florida State after going 2-10 last year and every waking week was a misery, that's one hell of a fun way to start the season. And I can't fault it at all. I mean, it was a joy to watch. They played great. I know every LSU fan sitting around me at the Clemson game was headed on the phone and was just cackling at the Bama fans flipping off the camera and chunk play after chunk play as dudes were jogging trying to chase him down. It was sad work, and Florida State just imposed their will on them. So I think if you're a fan, you've just got to be thrilled with your team simply looking like the stronger team end to end.
Yeah, I don't think you had that same veracity though at halftime.
Oh, which one?
When you were at when the LSU fans were at that Clemson game,
LSU Clemson game,
they hit halftime of that LSU Clemson game, I think that excitement of Alabama had faded.
I don't think so, because and again at the game they had on the scoreboard the whole game. You have the total yards, time of possession, turnover, like it's all on the board. Your standard kind of box scorey stats. And at halftime, I said, if we get a stop to start this half, I feel like we win this game. Because the time of possession was pretty drastic. The total yards, LSU outgained it by like 120 in the first half. Clemson's points came off of if Bauer Sharp holds onto that ball for about an eighth of a second, it's not a fumble, and it gave Clemson the first 3 points of the game. The next 7 Clemson scored came with 2 fourth down conversions, 2 near interceptions that just clipped off of fingertips, and the very obvious pick play that came behind the line of scrimmage, which I was actually arguing I thought was a blindside block more than just a pick, because he just clocked the guy who wasn't looking. I was like, I get it's behind the line as a pick play, but it's a blindside block. You just decleated a guy who's not looking. But it felt like Clemson stole 10 points in the first half when LSU was down there. Probably best defensive player in AJ Halsey, I guess, given the way Harold Perkins played. Maybe it's Harold Perkins, but it certainly seemed like LSU came out the locker room with the approach of, we're going to send our linebackers off the edge every play, and we're going to just keep Klubnik in the pocket and make him make decisions. And there were chances for him to hit guys. The last drive of the game, 3rd and goal, or the 3rd and 2, I guess, with the chance to tie they had 3 trips to the right, the inside of the 3 receivers there. I mean, he stepped straight out in the middle of the field, right between the hash marks, could have hit his head on the goalpost with the ball by himself, because Perkins was a defender over top and blitzed, and the safety stayed on the far receiver, and it was all alone, and Klubnik just totally missed it, threw it into double coverage, tightly covered guy. And I would say I left the game not disappointed in Klubnik, But I think when it's all on his arm, it's not as pretty as advertised.
Yeah, I would say the Antonio Williams injury early in that game really put a damper on that offense. I think the game plan was to try to split Perkins out on Williams, or at least get somebody in space on Williams and work Williams on choice routes all over the place. Him going down early in that game just took away basically what their offense was made to be in that specific situation. And then the reliance had to become on Tyler Brown, which Tyler Brown, good player, and he's been there and done that previously at Clemson. But the lack of a run game, I mean, I didn't even realize they ran the ball so little or even tried to run the ball so little.
It never went anywhere. Every play,
Yeah,
the only luck they had was Klubnik scrambling.
yeah, and even then he ended up with 1 yard rushing.
Yeah.
His long was 7. So they didn't even try to run the ball. Like the two running backs combined to have the same amount of carries as Klubnik. So that doesn't really make a lot of sense.
They never had the ball is the thing.
That's the thing.
LSU's time of
LSU
possession was
dominated.
gigantic.
Yeah.
This game was very close to being much bigger than the score was. I mean, you had the Berrien Brown touchdown catch taken off the board there. I mean, argue with you, mama, that's a touchdown for me.
Yeah.
You had the not taking the points before half by LSU, leaving 3 on the board there. The missed 40-something yarder from LSU. That's 13 points left on the board there. And like I mentioned, Clemson's points came on a fumble recovery and a long fumble recovery, and they actually lost yards on the drive, and then the multiple 4th down conversions to get the touchdown. The other concern I'd have was I was leaving the stadium, and I said to my friend talking about LSU's defense, and I said, they didn't allow any points in the second half. My friend on the podcast was talking about how they have, up there in the best receiving core in the country. Obviously, you mentioned the injury, which changes kind of a lot there, but still a strong receiving core that I was just kind of chatting about. And this Clemson fan next to me on the way out looks over and he goes, "You should talk on your podcast about how overrated we were," which is awesome, because what that guy didn't realize is I'm someone you should not be giving the window to, because I got in there and said, "Now, why do you think that is?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, I just think we were overrated. We got experienced guys everywhere, but they don't want to win." And I was like, "Really? Do you think that's a program problem?" And I mean, I made this guy get into the soul of Dabo and really just talk out this loss in a way that really made me smile. If I peel it back, I think the best thing on the LSU side that I saw was the play calling was so fun. You knew the offensive line was the question mark. You knew that was going to be the problem against the Clemson defensive front. When they ran it, they found innovative ways to do it. It was Caden Durham on stretch plays. It was Xavier Thomas on kind of fake orbit kind of counter plays that they were using to kind of get him in space. He's their punt returner, their kickoff returner, and just like, you're a guy we want to get the ball in your hands. And then otherwise, it was do you have numbers on the outside? Get the ball there. You saw the formation for Trey'Dez Green that scored the game-winning touchdown there. Diamond on the left side or on the right side, and Trey'Dez solo on the left. Right? You don't put enough guys on the right. We're throwing the screen to one of our punt return guys with 3 tight ends to block for him. Let's see if we can score. They put too many over there and left with Trey'Dez, who's 6'7", 6'8", on the other side by himself, and said, "Cool, we'll just throw a jump ball, touchdown." And they took a couple shots to Trey'Dez. So I mean, DFS wise, I'm not sure what the pricing is going to look like. I mean, a first week touchdown, but there's not going to be many times he's guarded by someone similar to that. And if he's a lower, cheaper guy, it sure feels like he's going to be LSU's just spam button for touchdowns. We did see a deep shot too on a slot fade as well. He took a 40-yard shot that ended in a DPI.
Yeah, I would say the biggest disappointment. Well, number one, I don't know who the heck Jawan Johnson is.
He was a quarterback recruit.
Yeah,
high quarterback recruit, played safety initially, and they just swapped him over to running back. He's fine. I mean, he was a guy who had the ball in his hands in high school, who was great, and they said, "Let's try to give him the ball in his hands now."
Yeah, Gio Lopez just made a South Alabama-esque throw where he got pick sixed. What the heck, Chris Hilton? I want to call him out. So he's 3K. He was cheap. I had him everywhere. He has 1 catch and a fumble. So now he goes on the crap list. I'm going to wait 13 weeks for a bowl game, and then now I'm going to play the hell out of him because apparently he only plays well in bowl games. So I'm made a mental note, not playing him again, not falling for it ever again until I hit a bowl game when all the actual good players sit out, and then he plays well because he's done it 2 years in a row. So I'm going to wait. I've chosen, hold me to it. If I go on a show and I say I'm playing Chris Hilton this week, tell me, sir, you said never until a bowl game. So please do that. Unless he has at least 2 high-end games in a row, then I'll consider him. But not until then. He's going to have to prove it. I will not do it.
I think the hard thing is going to be what LSU does at receiver. I think the way they played receiver in this game was very telling of what they were trying to do. They would bring Nick Anderson in mostly
like
to block. I mean, they mostly used him to block. I'm not sure he had a catch in the game.
No, he didn't.
But they rotated the receivers all game. The one who was out there the most was Xavier Thomas, and then Aaron Anderson, and it was the small guys. And they were looking for, we're going to get the ball out of our hands quick. We're going to get these guys on the outside and have them make plays. I'm curious what the receiver rotation looks like against Louisiana Tech. Do they try to get more of the bigger body guys in there because they're obviously going to expect to have more time in the pocket than they think they would have in this game? There weren't many deep shots. And then I'm curious what that looks like against Florida. Is that a situation where you see Chris Hilton try to pop the top off the defense more often? Do they use more Nick Anderson because they need the body and they have the chance to try to make more throws to him? But it seemed clear to me that the approach for this game was, we're using the smaller guys. We're going to use it in space. We're going to make Clemson's guys run sideline to sideline as much as we can and try to beat them on the edges.
Well, clearly Aaron Anderson was not nicked up because he just absolutely was the dominant force again as the number 1 wide receiver. I think you will see eventually they start utilizing Hilton and Anderson's speed to get upfield and their verticality, but it's going to be Anderson and Thomas, and then maybe to some extent Barry Brown, but Barry Brown's more of a speed guy, get it to him short and let him run because he's more of a punt return style. So it's interesting because Anderson maybe is the one middle of the field weapon that with speed, Bauer Sharp more of the middle of the field safety blanket, but Anderson's more of your do-it-all wide receiver, whereas your Brown and Thomas are interchangeable parts. Hilton and Anderson Nick Anderson interchangeable parts.
Yeah. I think you could take all of those 6 great receivers, put them on Texas, and they'd all be pissed. Our guy Ryan Wingo, I think, is going to Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Wingo.
Yeah, I think he's going to turn it. He's going to go full diva receiver, given what that game looked like, because the amount of times I was like, yeah, we were at a bar at Clemson. It was actually, so we watched it, and they cranked up the volume in the bar to watch Corso's picks, and it was very funny because everyone in the bar seemed to hold their breath for McAfee's pick more than they did for Corso's, which kind of bothered me. But they cranked the volume up for the Ohio State game. Arch rolls out for that first play, throws that duck straight into the dirt, and the whole place just goes, ooh.
Yeah.
And in that moment, it was like everyone collectively was like, oh, this guy sucks.
So I've watched enough Arch over the years at this point, back to Newman, because I would turn on the game whenever Arch was on. His throwing motion didn't look right. Something was off with him in that game because he was way more 3-quarter than I remember. It didn't look mechanically sound. It did not look like a Manning throwing the football. So I don't know what was going on, but everybody was talking about those 33% off target throws, and it showed. He didn't look great. I don't think Sayan looked better. He just wasn't quite.
He wasn't as bad.
He wasn't as bad. He just wasn't. He wasn't great, but he wasn't as bad. And Jeremiah Smith needed to change those gloves because he couldn't catch anything early in the game. Max Clare with an abysmal drop along that sideline. Parker Livingstone, though, hey, shout out him. The roommate narrative paid out. He caught that long touchdown. Looked good doing it too. Big kid, man. He's gonna be solid for them, especially as a rotational 3. And I was shocked at how good CJ Baxter looked coming off of that knee injury. He was more involved than I expected. There was talk that he was healthy. I think Wingo is going to bounce back this week with a big game. And I don't think DeAndre Moore is anything to write home about, but I think Wisner, Baxter have big games. They're playing San Jose State, so I think Arch Manning bounces back with a 300-yard game. And Ohio State looked fine. I really thought Texas was going to end up scoring there late, but Texas still has those red zone problems that they struggled with last year. Sark does not know how to operate in the red zone. If touchdowns were somewhere around the 50-yard line, he'd score a lot of points because he knows how to operate between the 20s. But if the game was solely operated within the, inside the 20, he stinks. He just can't draw up plays in there. He just seems like he wants to run the ball right up the middle and hope it works. But, Baxter's frog butt isn't going to do that. So I think they need to come up with something in the red zone for a package, or maybe go the Hughes Freeze route and just have a red zone play caller.
I was going to say, otherwise, in terms of general takeaways, I'll kind of lay out a list of them and see if there's anything that interests you. You can kind of pick one off the menu before we look the next week. But my boys here in Tampa, USF absolutely dominated Boise 34-7 on Thursday night. You just mentioned Hugh Freeze and dem boys go to Baylor, go to Waco and beat Baylor.
Jackson Arnold, man, just running the heck out of the ball.
Just running
Cam Coleman did nothing.
No, one catch, and Singleton probably more involved than we expected, but that was just based on the injury reports.
There's a ton of upside with that Auburn team. They got a shot. We're going to find out more when they get into fully SEC play.
Yeah, they've got I think Oklahoma is the first one that really jumped out to me for them. And then otherwise, the two I want to toss in front of you, Tennessee, Syracuse, which I'm not sure that one really did too much for you. And then how South Carolina looked against Virginia Tech. Any of those kind of something you want to quickly touch on before we look to week 2?
So we talked about LSU and that bad in touchdown catch. There was no worse call of the weekend than Nick Harbor not getting that touchdown. He got 2 feet and a knee down before the ball came out, and then somehow that's an incomplete pass, even though you ruled it a touchdown. Don't think so. I wanted to touch on my guy. Let me go the other way. Haynes King. Absolutely put the team on his back, 156 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. He's still in the Heisman race very clearly. And then finally, I'm surprised you didn't bring him up. Devin Dampier, man. Utah put the work on UCLA.
They did.
Nico still sucks. Still don't know that he's any better than Joey Aguilar. Like you mentioned, now Aguilar didn't look good either, but Iamaliava was awful. Tino Senseri can't even fix that, and he's a QB whisperer. They somehow didn't target Quasi Gilmer until the 4th quarter, so that was dumb. And the combination of Devin Dampier, Nakari Rogers, and Wayshawn Parker is absolutely deadly on the ground. Dampier and his offensive coordinator, Jason Beck, are an absolute unit. Expect the Utes to be a heavy favorite for the rest of the season in that Big 12.
Yeah, it's always good when the Utes look good. Wait, this is a pro Utes podcast.
Oh yeah. Oh, we are big time.
So looking to week 2 here, I think there's a lot of fun games. Just kind of quick glancing around. I think the early window, this Illinois Duke game at Duke,
huge game.
Huge. I'm very interested in that one. Obviously, Illinois was a jam-packed, crazy kind of house last week for their home opener. The fans there have a ton of hope building there. I mean, my friends was telling me last weekend, I hope you guys talked about Luke Altmaier's Heisman odds, because that's a team that can win the Big Ten. Now they're heading on the road to Duke, who brings in Darian Mensah, one of the better quarterbacks, I think, in the country. And I'm really interested to see how that one shakes out.
So 2 guys in that game. Number 1, wide receiver for Duke. You've probably never heard of him. Cooper Barkate. He's actually, I highlighted him in the stream earlier, talking about the first look. He's under 5K. He went to Harvard originally. People would think that he was probably not a great athlete because he ended up at an Ivy League school. He chose to go to Harvard because of the academics. He was a 4-star recruit out of high school. had a big game, was the clear number one target for Duke. He's a very good player. I think he has a good week here this week. And the other guy, we were all wondering who the number one wide receiver for Illinois is going to be because they lost Pat Bryant and their other top option at wide receiver. I was kind of touting Justin Bowick, the transfer from Ball State. He had about 500 yards in 4 games for Ball State before he decided, I'm quitting this team and I'm redshirting. He had 2 touchdowns last week. Did not catch the ball a ton, but Hank Beatty also looked good. So I think we can put to bed that they don't have the wide receiver weapons necessary to go a long way. I think Illinois is a serious contender for a playoff spot, but they need to get past this Manny Diaz defense, which is very stout.
Another fun one, Iowa State. That's the noon window on Fox. Of course, your boy Rocco Becht is there, which is going to be your favorite spot here.
Hey, he's down to 50-1 in Heisman odds, and I got him at 150.
Are you cashing out yet? Holding it?
No, I'm holding diamond hands, man. I told you if they get past this Cyhawk game, he can run all the way till that Utah game. They're going to be 9-0 by the time they face any true test. He looks great. I'm very excited for the Cyhawk. It is at Iowa State, and typically the road team wins these games, but I did gain a lot of confidence in Iowa State being able to win this game because Iowa and Mark Gronowski, who was supposed to be the answer from South Dakota State at quarterback, he threw for 60 yards last week. So I'm still a bit disappointed in that. Their starting running back, Kamari Moulton, got hurt, and they're going to turn to 2, by the way, 3K crappers as their starting running backs. So we got some really good value out of the Iowa backfield going into this week, which is basically free.
I love to hear that. We'll have to, again, a good time to plug Chris's shows all week, keeping you updated on the DFS end of things. I flying up to Clemson, set my lineup for Friday night, listening to the show, cashed easy. I was sitting like top 15 pretty much all night, and then ended up finishing around I think like 32.
And that was with Damon Claiborne playing 2 plays.
Yeah, I was in a really good spot all night there. So I can't. I listen to my own advice here and listen to Chris's stuff. So you should too if you're questioning it. On the CW is Baylor SMU.
Huge game.
Gigantic game.
For Baylor specifically.
It's pretty much the season already.
Yes. This could be Dave Aranda's job right out the gate. I mean, he's been treading on thin ice. I think this is a great game. It's the highest over-under on the slate. I think it's a shootout. Bryson Washington, man, Sawyer Robertson's got all the weapons he could possibly want. Cole Wilson looked very good last week. Michael Trigg was dominating at tight end. Love that. I'm still not an SMU believer. I still think the outside weapons stink. RJ Maryland is probably their best weapon for my money, and they're still splitting carries in the backfield. So there's just not redeeming qualities for me for SMU. I always lean against SMU. I've done it for a year and a half. Why stop now? So I love Sawyer Robertson. I think I think this is a great game though. So it's going to be one that it's going to be on one of the TVs. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I certainly don't mind having the CW in the grid there. I don't mind any of the dogs in those 3 games. It's all the spreads are around 3 points. I think that those all can be very fun games. In the 3:30 window, and I know I don't want to take us around forever, but Oklahoma State, Oregon is in there on CBS. You've got an ACC game here, Ole Miss, or an SEC game here on ABC. Ole Miss is at Kentucky.
So touching on those 2 games, number one, I don't know if you got to see Oregon. Mekhi Hughes did not play but 2 snaps. He didn't play at all. It was in the 3rd quarter when they were up 50. So Mekhi Hughes got 1 carry and 1 catch. He was the number 1 transfer portal addition to that team. Don't know what's going on there. He's 8,700 on DK this week. Easy fade. Play Noah Whittington at 5,500. I don't know what's going on with that Mekhi Hughes stuff. Everybody's freaking out. There's people talking about dropping him in college fantasy, and he was a first-round pick. I had him personally ranked as a top 3 back in the Big Ten coming into this year. I thought he would go 1,510 easy and replace him, no problem. I've already bet this Ole Miss Kentucky game. I was shocked that line came out under 14. Kentucky should have lost. They threw for Toledo. 80 yards on Toledo. They only got out of that game because they were able to run the football and they dominated the lines of scrimmage against Toledo. Well, it's a MAC team. Go figure. Ole Miss lost to Kentucky last year, basically kept them out of the play, definitely kept them out of the playoff. You think Lane Kiffin's not trying to prove a point and beat the never living snot out of Kentucky this week? Of course he is. Now, big surprise with Ole Miss. They tilted the hell out of me because Caden Lee had no catches or one catch for in the entire game last week. Don't know what was going on there. DeJon Stribling should have been the number 1 or number 2 option. He didn't get a catch until he was playing with the second string quarterback. So that was outside of my realm of capability to understand either one of those things. Kawan Lacey looked amazing at running back. Luckily, I touted him. He was cheap and played great. And I don't know what was going on with the pass catchers because I am far from a Harrison Wallace believer, and he led the team in receiving. And I think he stinks.
The other really fun one that suddenly has popped up here on SEC Network is that USF team that just absolutely put it on Boise. Heading to Gainesville.
I mean, hey, so I said it in the thing earlier. Best stat line of the week was Eugene Wilson's line against Long Island University. He had 5 catches for -4 yards and a touchdown. Like, what are we doing? Can we throw the ball down the field to Eugene, please? Like, what the heck, man? Lagway, this isn't even a team that I'm going to say, all right, if Lagway throws for 300, I believe him. Like, I was talking about this on that show, is I need to see him play in LSU, Auburn, Georgia, and throw for 300 for me to really buy the hype train. I understand the hype train. I just think we're prematurely awarding him the status of this great player. He's very good. I think he's a very upper echelon, top 6, 7, top 5, 6 quarterback in the SEC. But to anoint him as the best quarterback or second best in the SEC is so premature when we haven't even seen a 300-yard game and his mobility is non-existent. We haven't seen him stay healthy at all. He's been constantly injured. It was a hamstring, then it was a shoulder, then it's been a foot. And it's just one thing after another with this kid. Byron Brown, I said it last week, he's dangerous every time he touches a football field. That's a 17.5-point spread. Odds are starting to shift towards USF, and money's coming in on USF. I think it'll settle in that 15-16 range if I was to guess. Jaden Baugh is going to be a problem for South Florida to stop. Same thing with Jacoby Jackson on that run game. And the sneaky wide receiver who came out and played really well last week for them was Vernell Brown. They got some really talented young wideouts, and I think they can and will put up a ton of points in this game.
I'm really excited to watch that one. The other really interesting one that I'm sure will somehow end up with very few eyes on it is I assume top 10 Arizona State heading to Mississippi State, playing in Starkville at night, which,
Stark Vegas.
Crazy stuff happens there. I mean, we just heard Dillingham today talking about how they got to stay like an hour and a half away, probably in Jackson, I assume, because as they said, it's the nearest hotel that's not a casino. My friend who went to Mississippi State said that's a lie. So plenty of hotels. You don't have to stay an hour and a half away, but I guess take him for his word. And then, of course, the other big one that night, the game day game, the all eyes on it is Michigan at Oklahoma there in Norman. John Mateer, and let's see what Bryce Underwood really looks like. I mean, obviously a lot of high scores, a lot of high marks last week as the true freshman makes his debut. Now he's on the road, SEC team, Brent Venables' team, which I think makes it to me honestly more important whether or not it's SEC, because you just heard how I talked about the Mississippi State team. I'm very interested what that game looks like.
Yep, Moneyline Mateer looked pretty good. We'll see how he operates. Deion Burke's healthy. I'm still a little worried about their running back situation. Jaden Ott relegated to the third hole right now. He's been banged up for camp, so we'll have to wait and see. But man, Michigan, they played a patsy in New Mexico, which was the worst defense in the country last year. Arguably, in all levels of football, it was the worst defense. Underwood looked okay. Like I said, I think they have MAC level wide receivers outside of Donovan McCulley. So Oklahoma, I mean, 5.5 seems like a reasonable spread here. I think Underwood is going to struggle with Venables' defense, with Venables taking it over. That would be my concern. Mateer looked good. I think the offense can get enough done on that. But one other game, well, two other games, but one that I wanted to hit on, Kansas, Missouri, I think is a big game. Underrated game for what it is. Bo Pribula was in I would call it a real big competition with Horn. Horn came out and got hurt like first play of the game, basically. Now it's Pribula's job. That's an interesting game. 6.5-point spread. I think Kansas has looked really good. And remember, I talked about Emmanuel Henderson in week 0 before that game. He went off last week for 150 and 2. And so between him and Pickett, with Jalen Daniels looking healthy, Highshaw looking really good, LaShawn Williams looking good, Ahmad Hardy for Missouri, the kid from ULM, looked great last week in his first action. I think that I would lean Kansas. That's probably why that's now minus 120 at plus 6.5. So it's moving, certainly. Last game on the docket, and I'm nervous about this game. Money's coming in on the dog here at plus 14.5. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about it. Come on. James Madison playing at Louisville. That's a big game for us. Sun Belt favorites. I was nervous going into the season because Alonzo Barnett tore his knee up in the last game before we went to the bowl game. Still won the bowl game. He was cleared for contact a week before the season started, and he ran for a touchdown, threw for 2. Matthew Sluka came in he was the former quarterback for Bob Chesney at Holy Cross. He had the notable split from UNLV last year with the money issue, the NIL dispute. He's now the second guy there. He's a poor man's Taysom Hill. I call him Dollar General Taysom. He scored 2 touchdowns. They beat up on Weber State. I think we're in for a long day facing Louisville because they're going to be able to run the football down our gullet the whole time. Isaac Brown looked like a monster. They just got nasty monsters all over the place. I really thought the line should be 17.5. I think it's probably going to clear 14. I think I would take Louisville and lay the points, as much as I hate to say it. But it's a Friday game, and I'm looking forward to it.
I'll let you look forward to it, and we'll see if it gets my attention on Friday night. Otherwise, the places early, I'm looking to sprinkle. I'm interested in Kansas money line that you mentioned there. I will certainly be going there as an early spot that I'm interested in. I'm also interested in Baylor money line against SMU, like we talked about. You mentioned the Ole Miss spread already, and before I could even get there, I'm going to toss a little bit on USF to win at Florida. I think kind of everything you mentioned in terms of Lagway, I just haven't seen it. Like you said, it's the same thing that I did with Arch Manning. If Arch was really that good, wouldn't he have played over injured Quinn Ewers last year? I kind of feel the same way about Lagway. It's like I just kind of need to see it before I'm willing to put it there. There's just too many other guys out there. I'm interested in Mississippi State. And then I don't know. The total and the line don't make a lot of sense to me for this Michigan-Oklahoma game. The total is 45.5, and Oklahoma is minus 5.5. I mean, I'm thinking this one probably looks a lot like that LSU-Clemson game last week, where it's just who keeps the ball the longest and finds a way to put up 17 wins. I like the under there, even at it's 45.5. And I mean, in a game, I'm thinking under 45.5. I always have a hard time turning away something close to a touchdown in those games. So if they're going to give me 5.5, I'd probably just go Michigan in the 5.5 and assume they lose by like 4. Yeah. If the game's going to be that low and you're going to give me a touchdown, I feel like I pretty much have to take it. But just some early thoughts. I mean, if something comes up, I'll be sure to text you and have you just plug it randomly throughout the week because God knows I'll be listening. So as always, appreciate you, man. It's always fun hanging out with you.
Yes, sir. And we'll be back soon. I should have a video out for the underrated game of the week. I made sure not to bring it up on this show, but it's a doozy. So I made sure not to. But there is a G5 game out there that I am pumped about. So I can't wait to bring it up. That's for sure. So we'll see you guys later this week. Bye.